Welcome to the Women's Circle interviews. Our circle interviews are designed to model possibility, increase creativity, tap into intuition, and create a network of global connection to light up the world. It's only when you realize what's possible for you that you're able to step into who you are meant to be and build the business and life of your dreams on your own terms. You are truly magnificent and designed to live a life worthy of you. It's never too late to start. Are you ready? Let's dive right in. Adey-Jones is a codependency and narcissistic abuse recovery coach, speaker, author, podcaster, YouTuber, blogger, and founder of a spiritual solution to codependency and narcissistic abuse. Thanks to her unconventional childhood growing up in the UK and her personal challenges, including divorce and raising children as a single parent, her work is informed both by the empathy gained from real life experience and her deeper studies of spirituality and psychology. Using her down-to-earth and relatable approach to coaching and her commitment to creating a safe space to explore the principles, understanding, she continues to serve a wide range of clients worldwide. Del, welcome to our circle. I am so excited to connect with you today, especially on this topic, which is so needed and important to share.
Oh, lovely. Well, thank you for having me. It's lovely to be here with you today.
So can you tell me just a little bit more about, to start with, codependency? So not everyone might know what that means to be codependent.
Well, the term was started, I think, in around the 80s, the early 80s. I think that's when it first came into popularity, or the term was coined. And it was really to describe people that were the partners of people that were addicted to either a substance or some addictive behavior or a substance. And they basically were saying, well, hang on a minute, these people that are either enabling them or not holding them accountable, they have issues too. They seem to be these, long-suffering, spouses or partners. But they started to look at what it was that would keep somebody in a dysfunctional relationship where they weren't getting their needs met. Codependency often originates in childhood. So we learned these sort of coping mechanisms, I call them. Often we grew up in, say, unstable or dysfunctional environments. Maybe we had a parent that was an addict, or a parent that for whatever reason was mentally ill. Maybe they weren't available, or maybe they were even narcissistic. And we developed these coping strategies to survive our childhoods, basically. So, a lot of people have shame around being called codependent. I don't at all. I spent the first 50 years of my life being codependent, and I just have such empathy for myself for what I went through as a child and why I developed these coping mechanisms, as I say. So what the traits are, classic traits are, we have a huge fear of abandonment because we didn't get our needs met as a child. And we also have a lot of shame around feeling needy because of those, having been either abandoned, neglected, or abused as a child. We make that mean that we're not lovable, and that there's something wrong with us. And so when you grow up with that sort of hole in you, that feeling that you don't have any self-worth or any sort of sense of self, you are very susceptible to looking for outside validation. You're very sort of like, you constantly want somebody to say, yeah, you're great, you're wonderful, you're okay, you're lovable. So that sets us up for that. It's looking at it as an outside-in world rather than knowing that those things come from within us. We're on the lookout for getting that from the outside. The other thing is we tend to feel that we are not complete as we are, which we know is not true as well. But we tend to sort of look to people to complete us, so if we're feeling a little fragile or a little vulnerable, we tend to seek out strong, capable, narcissistic types because they think they have qualities that I don't have, which again we know is not true. But these are beliefs you grow up with and have. So those are two of them, but there's a ton more.
You mentioned that some people feel shame around the idea that they're codependent. Is that something that can be changed, or is it part of you for your whole life?
Oh no, I think anything can change. We're all none of us are set in stone. I mean, our personalities aren't set in stone. It's just a sort of a collection of thoughts we have about ourselves that when we can look a little deeper and see that they're erroneous and they're not true, we can let them go and we show up in the world very, very different. So yeah, shame is something. I mean, it might reoccur or pop up again, it might visit, but it's not who we are, and we don't have to live in that state by any means. I was very shame-based. I felt I was ashamed of everything. I mean, as such a young child, I was ashamed of my parents' behavior. I was ashamed of existing. I was ashamed of being needy, because my mother, I grew up without a father, but she would shame me if I had normal childhood needs, because she was overwhelmed and couldn't take care of us, in my book, adequately. So I grew up very sort of pretending to be needless and wantless, because I had that feeling that it was wrong, it was bad to be needy. So, as human beings, it's natural to have needs and wants and express them in a healthy way.
Yeah. I heard some time ago, which helped me a lot, that shame is actually a space holder for you being yourself. So as you grow up and you learn who you are and you adapt, new traits and qualities that you've always possessed, but you kept them buried, it kind of keeps that space for it. So it's not like something that you have to carry your whole life. It's really more of hey, it will move aside when you fill it in with something else.
100%. I love that, because it really is. It's not, and often sometimes we carry shame from if we've suffered abuse as a child, we blame ourselves. We feel that, and often we're told that it's our fault. We invited it or something like that. So we can carry shame about that as well. So releasing shame is a huge one. I strive to be shameless in my life.
So would people know if they're in a codependent situation, or is that something that we're blinded to? Like sometimes we're blinded to our limitations, or.
It's really interesting. I think there's so much literature and, YouTube, everything out there right now. I think people are beginning to recognize themselves, but it's very interesting. I hold a 6-week program, and the first week I talk about the spiritual understanding that I teach from. And I used to do, the second week was codependency, because I thought, well, everybody's here for codependency. And then I realized that no, people were here for week 3, which is all about narcissists. So I flipped the weeks, because I thought, there are some people that will say, no, I'm not a codependent, but I'm in a relationship with a narcissist. Yeah. And so it was easier for them to identify, or rather to see behavior in another person than necessarily themselves. And again, as I say, some people feel it's a dirty word. I don't at all. I think it's just a word to describe a set of behaviors that somebody's innocently engaging in because they don't know any better. We're all doing the best we can. And if we don't know any better, we can't do any better. So it's not a dirty word. It's nothing to be ashamed of. Often born out of hurt and pain. And we've got to be so gentle with that part of ourselves that develop these coping mechanisms. So.
And is wanting to shut off the notion that we might be codependent a form of shame? Like it's a way that, saying, oh, it's the other person, it has nothing to do with me.
Well, exactly. Yeah, because, maybe that's why I so proudly say, yeah, I was codependent for 50 years because I have no shame around it. To me, it's just all I have is compassion for what I went through as a child. So, I have zero shame when it comes to that. But like you said, some people do feel, there are some people out there that describe codependence as controlling, angry, resentful, all the sort of negative traits. Can we be angry? Absolutely. Can we be resentful when we've given 150% and the other person's giving nothing? We can have some resentment. But again, there's so many wonderful qualities about codependency. We're very caring, very loving, very empathetic, nurturing, kind, usually spiritual. There's all these wonderful sides as well. And I think when somebody sees the whole gamut rather than just this sort of stereotypical angry and resentful, then they can embrace who they are and what they've been through. So
So it's embracing the polarities. In other words, right? You're owning your shadow is what
Yes.
empowers you to move
Exactly.
forward. Like you
Yeah.
said, it's okay to be angry if there's something to be angry about. I know there was a part in my life where I sought out help because I thought I was an angry person. And that's what I told her, I'm angry. And she's like, you're not an angry person. You have something to be angry about. So that, really helped my way of thinking, because yes, I do have something to be angry about. It's not that I'm angry.
I love what you're saying there, because we tend to sort of grab onto a label and like sticky notes, stick it in on us. I'm this, I'm that. And it's like, no, we are these beautiful, magnificent spiritual beings. And as human beings, we have these thoughts that pass through us. Some are angry, some are sad, some are loving, some are jealous, some are whatever. They're just thoughts passing through us that we sometimes overly identify with. But the beauty is, when we don't overly identify, we're just free to be everything in that moment.
Yes, we are not anger. We feel anger. Like you said, it's an emotion that passes through you because of a trigger, but it doesn't define you. Yes,
exactly.
So what is narcissistic abuse?
As a 3 principles practitioner, I usually don't say, my little caveat is I'm not labeling or diagnosing somebody. I'm just using shorthand to describe a set of behaviors. So it's the same as I did with codependency. With narcissists, they have a very predictable way of showing up in the world. And that is usually very sort of grandiose. They believe they're superior to everybody else. They're more, they're often very seductive and charming. And there are 4 main types of narcissists. I should say that first. There's the overt, the covert, the malignant, and the communal. And so they all show up slightly differently, but there is an underlying trait of a lack of empathy, self-centeredness, quite selfish. They can be bullying, domineering, aggressive. It's a one-way street. If you're in a relationship with a narcissist, you're doing all the giving and trying to make everything okay. And they take and take and take. That's why it's a perfect fit. They like to receive, and codependents like to give. So that's why they hook up really well together. But when it becomes abusive is when you're being lied to and manipulated and bullied and controlled. And often some of that control can happen in financial. Maybe a partner is keeping you completely in the dark. You haven't a clue what's going on financially. Gaslighting is another one, which is, for me, actually really the worst one, because I think that has the most lingering effect, negative effect, if we get out of those relationships. And what gaslighting is when basically you're told you're going crazy. And it derives from the old film in the 40s where the husband was playing with the lighting in the apartment, and his wife kept saying the lights are flickering, and he was like, no, they're not, you're imagining it. So often something will be right under your nose. You'll get an email, you'll see an email, or you'll see evidence right in front of you that you're being lied to. And a narcissist will just like to the nth degree deny, throw you under the bus, have you think you're crazy. And often people will come out of these relationships and they're just like, it's not even that they don't trust other people anymore, they don't trust themselves. And that to me is so sad. And, as we both know that, we have, divine wisdom within us, always guiding us. But what happens is we never goes anywhere, it's always there, but we've covered it up with so much listening to what the other person is saying and what our anxious thinking is saying that we often don't hear our own wisdom. Some other things in narcissistically abusive relationships are rage, raging, smashing, breaking things. Some get to be physically violent, but there's a lot of emotional and psychological and spiritual abuse. I'm trying to think what else. You just end up feeling completely depleted. Often physical symptoms can come up. A lot of autoimmune diseases, people, because they're so worn down, they're living on that fight or flight, high alert all the time. The adrenals are just drained. And so I'm trying to think of some of the other classic Yeah, been lied to, cheated on. Often narcissists need what they call new feed, new adoration from somebody else. So often there are other people in the wings, or maybe not necessarily even in the wings. There'll often be other people in your relationship that you have no idea is happening. It's, you know, it's not like an agreed upon thing. It's the lying and the denial.
Can that ever be resolved? Like, are there relationships like that get resolved, or do you basically have to abandon the relationship?
No, I actually, in my 6-week course I have 1 week where I say, should I stay or should I go? Because my job as a coach is not to ever have an agenda. I mean, it's your life. My job is to help you come to your truth, what's right for you. I don't give advice. I don't, like I said, I'm not directive in that way. Some people cannot leave their narcissistic relationships for whatever reason. They can't leave because they either psychologically they've told themselves they can't leave. Some people can't leave for financial reasons. I've had people that are bedridden. They cannot leave, you know, and they don't have any access to the finances. So what I tell people is, or what I teach them is, there's a way to stay if you have to stay or you want to stay that is less damaging to you. And there's also a way to leave that is less damaging to you. And I'll teach them those tools, but what they do with those tools is up to them. The one thing I do say, though, is do not stay thinking that your partner will change, because that is highly unlikely. Unless this person had a spiritual awakening, which we know that we all can have. So I do add that little bit. Somebody might change, but often narcissists, their defense mechanism is so in place. They're so detached from the fragility that's actually beneath this bravado that they won't even look inside. In their minds, they're winning, they're controlling, they're manipulating, they're getting their needs met. So they're like, why would I change? Whereas with the codependent, they come in going, something's wrong, please tell me, show me the light, help me. So even though they're both, you know, have some dysfunctional behavior, codependents are so easy to work with, and narcissists are really hard to work with. So the defense mechanism, as I say, is just so tight. So.
Right. So how do you help people recover from a relationship like that?
It's all, that's why I call it a spiritual solution. I was in my own therapy for 30 years, which helped me a lot. I loved it. It helped me make sense of my very crazy childhood. I could see why I developed some of the patterns I did. I saw why I was attracted to the men I was attracted to. So it helped me make sense of things, but there was something still missing. And I kept thinking, when I change my thinking about myself, then I'll get better. So I worked really hard on trying to change my thinking about myself. All that negative voice that said, you know, you're not good enough, you're fat, you're ugly, you're stupid, you know, whatever that litany of, you know, thoughts that kept me down and making me feel insecure. Once I realized that, you know, that thought is just energy moving through. It's not telling me who I am. I can be anything I want to be in life. You know, we really are. We're pure potential. So once I saw that, what I teach with my little snow globe here, I use this example, you know, we're all these incredible spiritual beings. That's that little Buddha in there. And we all live in our own little thought created bubble, all of us. So once I saw that somebody else's behavior, like a cheating spouse or a, you know, whatever, that their behavior was based on their thinking, it had nothing to do with me. So once I saw that, I was able to let go of the hurt and the anger and the how could they's. That was huge. So I teach that. I also, like I say, when we know who we are, these beautiful spiritual beings that are so magnificent, and that little human expression that is you and I right now talking to each other is only like 1% of what we really are, you know, and we get caught up in that, and we make decisions, fearful decisions from that place. But once I help people see who they are at their essence, and they see that they don't need somebody on the outside for love or security. They don't need validation from the outside because they already know what they are on the inside. So it is I teach a spiritual understanding, but I mix it with psychology because I think it's really helpful to understand where the patterns develop from, where they took root, so we can go back in and pull them out and show that they're not really, they don't mean anything, they're not true, we're not less than anybody else. So yeah, it's this, I teach from a spiritual perspective, and that's where the real healing comes in.
What I heard you say is that, like, when we're in these relationships, we really buy into the idea that something's wrong with us. And if you leave, or even if you stay, the whole idea is to really unravel that whole idea that something is wrong with you, and to really reclaim your true power, which is your essence.
Exactly. And it's already there. That's the thing. It hasn't, you don't have to go out and find it, or it's just already there. We're just looking in the wrong direction. Right. We've been listening to this negative chatter in our heads, and we've been looking for outside validation. And when we go, oh, hang on a minute, I don't have to believe this, and I'm already this magnificent being, and we just settle into it. And it's a process. Yeah. And we'll, every now and again, we get hijacked and get back into this thinking, and then we wake up and go, oh, I'm back up here. Okay, let me fall back into the space of who I truly am. So that's basically what I do, is keep guiding people back to the truth of who they are.
And do you think this has been like generational? Does it compound through the generations?
You know, it did. No, it's a great question. I did a master's in spiritual psychology, and they had John Bradshaw. I don't know if you're aware of him. He did Healing the Shame That Binds, and many books over the years. And we did this thing where we did this sort of generational map, and it's amazing how things just pass on generation to generation. And, you know, a lot, obviously, like sort of alcoholism and things like that. But believe it or not, in my generational map was illegitimacy. It's like 4 generations of illegitimate children, women that had low self-esteem, codependency, didn't believe that they were worthy of a lot of things, being treated with respect. And it was just so fascinating to see it laid out in front of me. But yeah, I think it's also, you can have a codependent parent and pick up those habits. I also think that society as well, especially for women, there are obviously more codependent women than codependent men, not saying that they don't exist, but society sort of encourages us young girls to be, not to be a bother, to be a nice little girl, to take care of other people. Nice girls put their feelings, aside and take care of others first. So that's, I think, a societal, we're taught that. But as I say, within families, if we have a codependent parent, we can either mimic them, or we can develop it because we have a narcissistic parent. And the only way to survive as a child with a narcissistic parent is to become codependent.
I think, we tend to think that we're equal, men and women, right now. But even if we were, it's not that long ago that we weren't. Like, my mom was a teenage mom, and my dad left before I was born. And I remember going on trips, so it would be in the 80s. So it's not super long ago, a little bit long ago, but not that long ago. And she would be turned down from staying like at a hotel or at a resort or wherever we were going because she was a single mom.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe that. It's so interesting because did you grow up without your father?
Yes.
Or did you?
Yeah, I grew up without my father. But to me, it was just the witnessing, even though I'm an empowered woman and we're free and we're equal to men, it's not really that long ago. So there's a lot that we're still working through.
Absolutely. And I think I love that distinction, because I think, same for me. I feel equal to every man on the planet. I feel equal to every human on the planet. I really do, because I know that's spiritually, none of us are born a little better than other people. We all come from the same energy, the same source. We're all equal. So I don't get into that sort of, oh my God, you're so great, or I'm so little anymore. I used to when I was younger. But again, I think, as you say, society is telling us something different. And the fact that even in the 80s that your mother was discriminated against for being a single mother is mind-blowing to me.
It is mind-blowing. It's not that long ago. Like it's hard to wrap my head around this, that women have been fighting for freedom for such a long time, and it's not that long ago.
Yeah. And I also think that's just to jump on that for a minute. I also feel that when we did have the sort of women's liberation, women can have it all. I also feel that there was something in that as well, where it was like, it wasn't like you can choose to be this or that. It was like, you should have it all. You should be all of it. You should be able to do everything. And I think that was also a huge, I think a lot for a woman to grapple with. It's like, wait a minute, I'm supposed to have a career, but I'm supposed to be a mother too. And I'm supposed, and it's like, it was a lot of pressure. I think it was a lot of pressure for women.
Did you see the movie Mona Lisa Smile, Julia Roberts? It expresses that idea, that concept that we're liberated now, and we should be going into the workforce and, getting educated and going to school. And basically one student who is brilliant chooses marriage and raising a family, and her teacher, like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
It says it's a choice.
Yes, exactly.
Well, she was teary-eyed even now, but it's a choice. It's not, I have to do it all. I get to
exactly. Oh, that's so great. I have to watch it. No, I haven't seen it, but that's exactly what I'm saying, is a lot of women that do choose to be stay-at-home mothers they feel shame. I didn't live up to all that was expected of me. And I think that also, can carry out into codependency again within our relationships. Like, we don't want to give up. We don't want to bail. We're supposed to stick it out. We're supposed to work it through. We're supposed to get over things. We're supposed to. It's exhausting. So, yeah.
So why is this work important?
There's so much misunderstanding around this subject, and I know I have a particularly because I didn't just study it, because I lived through it. I'm very, very compassionate and very loving, and I like to help other people be that way with themselves as well, compassionate and loving and wise. And when you've wised up to what's going on, because again, we can be very susceptible to that, the first throes of a narcissistic relationship, the love bombing, where we put on a pedestal. And if you've grown up with low self-esteem, God, that pedestal is really lovely. And you love to be adored, you love to be cherished. But then what happens in the narcissistic relationship is that I call it the on the pedestal, off the pedestal. There's this sort of whiplash of 1 minute you're being adored and the next minute you're being ripped to shreds. And so it's really important to have information to understand what's going on. Because again, you're being brainwashed. It's like being sucked into a cult. When you are with a narcissist, that love bombing, the gaslighting, the whole thing that goes on, you just it's like your head is spinning. You don't know whether you're up or down. So I think, the more that I can educate people, the more that I can show them that there is a way out. And the more that, again, I hear a lot, I don't ever want to be in another relationship. It hurt too bad. Well, too badly. It's like when we realize that we're resilient, we have this incredible innate resilience and well-being in us. My heart is more open today than it ever was. Whereas I had people say to me, how could you ever love again? And I'm like, I love bigger and better because I know who I am. I know that I can survive anything. I have already. So I'm not closed off, and I want to, again, inspire other people to do the same. We're beautiful, loving creatures. We're meant to be with each other, love each other, cherish each other. So if I can help people, come out of their lonely apartments where they've sworn off love and get back out there and share themselves wholly, beautifully with somebody that deserves them, not somebody that's going to abuse them, then that's my mission. So.
That's amazing. And I tend to believe that we are love, and everything that happens to us is a way to return us to that state of love. So when you're experiencing things you don't like, it's to show you you're off course. You're not being loved right now. even these relationships are showing you that there's something off and it's not you. It's
absolutely,
want to
it's
return to
everything. Yeah, everything is, that's the other thing. Everything is in service to us, to our higher good. So even when we've gone through things that, like my childhood was very painful and I went through abuse and abandonment and all that stuff. But I have no regrets, absolutely no regrets, because it made me who I am. And even my later relationships, when I, got into narcissistic relationships later, again, I've come out of all of those relationships with a gift. And when you see the gift of every experience, it's much easier to let the other stuff go. It's just focused on the gift you got from it. And I got a lot of gifts. I found myself. I found my true self. It took me down to help me. I had to be taken down that far to really know who I really was. So
yes, I fully relate to what you're saying. I feel the same way, that I wouldn't change a single thing because it would change who I am today. And I wouldn't want to risk that.
Exactly.
But so we talked a little bit about generational. Is it beyond you too? Like if you heal this or fix this, that it helps generations after. So it's not just like what you've been bringing forward, but what is going to continue after you.
Oh, absolutely. I'm a mother of two beautiful, I assume they're not young boys anymore, they're men. But I know that by me rediscovering who I really am, getting in touch with that part of myself, I know that I have impacted my children in a very positive way that wouldn't have been if I hadn't have done the work that I'd done or do the work that I do.
I heard years ago that the greatest gift a father can give his children is to love their mother. So to me, what you're saying, like I relate to that, like the leaving is because you don't want to be showing your children the opposite.
Yeah, absolutely. I stayed for many years because I grew up without a father, and I in my head I was like, I want to give my children what I didn't have. I want to give my children what I didn't have. And then at some point, you have to realize, you know what, you got to like step back a bit. It's like, is this the right environment for them to grow up in? Is this going to help them grow into healthy, beautiful young men? And at some point I had to say, no, it's not. And I had to leave. So, I think it's important to, and I know I'll own it too. I think there was a part of me that was vicariously living a second childhood by having an intact family like that. I was enjoying that. It's like, oh, this is what it looks like. This is what it feels like. But, if it's not healthy, it's not healthy. So
exactly.
Yeah.
So what do you think is needed to create the change that you want to see?
Again, it is a spiritual solution. I don't think I could have healed with just therapy alone. As I say, I loved it. It helped me. But it was really when you look through the lens of spirituality, you see a lot clearer, a lot clearer. So, and I have people come to me and they say, well, I'm not religious, and I'm like, neither am I. I went to a private girls' convent. I was raised in the UK, and those nuns were not very nice to me. So I have a little bit of about organized religion, which is fine for some people. It just wasn't fine for me. So I work with people that say they're not spiritual even, and I'll say to them things like, well, do you believe there's an intelligence behind life that's taking care of things when you're asleep? Who's beating your heart? Who's making your lungs, inhale oxygen? Or when we're pregnant, we're not going, oh my God, you're at a month now. Hang on, have you developed this much so far? I mean, stuff is being taken care of without our having to do anything. So if I can get people to understand that there is an intelligence behind life that is living us and directing us and guiding us, and as I said, everything that happens to us is ultimately for our highest good, then life becomes a lot easier. And I also help people leave without anger, because there's no point in being out of these relationships if we're still holding anger and resentment and hurt. We have to resolve that so we're really free to move on. And I'm happy to say that, I feel neutral about people that I've been in relationships with that have been narcissists. I feel neutral. I might even have compassion for them because I see that they're very stuck in a fear-filled world where they think the only way they can survive is to dominate, control, manipulate, lie, abuse, threaten. I wouldn't want to live in that world. So I have compassion, but it doesn't mean I'm going to be in a relationship with them. I'm well over here getting on with my life very happily. But I think when we're still attached, whether we're still in love or still in anger or hate, we're still attached.
Mm-hmm.
I think having a healthy, neutral space, I think, is the best space to come from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just because we love somebody, love is not enough. We're fed these lines that love is everything, and it's not. You can love somebody that's really, really damaging to be in a relationship with.
Mm-hmm.
And there has to be that self-preservation where you say, you know what, I love myself more.
Yes.
I love myself more.
That's what I was thinking. Love is everything, but we're thwarting it because we think it's out there, but it's in here. You have to love the in here. Mm-hmm. This is everything. If you can love yourself fully and completely, then nothing out there can knock you down.
And the other thing is, it's like, as you said earlier, we're made of love. And we often think that we're feeling somebody else's love for us. No, we're feeling our own feelings of love. And it's like, because it's like, and you say, well, hang on a minute, you feel the person loves you, they're giving you the love, but you know what? They're not even here. They're not even on this, planet, even some of them, or on the other side of the world. So where is the love really coming from? It's coming from within us. That beautiful feeling is coming from within us.
Yes. And that's what we have to own. We're able to generate that love. It's not out there again.
Exactly. It's what we're made of. It's pouring out of us. Just
that's who you are.
Exactly. It's just sort of, it's not conditional. It's just constantly pouring forth. So, yeah.
Yes. So if you could sum up your vision in just one word.
Oh boy. Oh God. God. I think I just have to say it's love. Love. Yeah. Nothing but love.
That is beautiful. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining me today, Del. It was such an inspiring and needed conversation. I really hope that you get to really fulfill your purpose and get your book out there and reach millions of people, because it's so needed.
Lovely. Well, thank you so much. And thank you for being a beautiful interviewer. It's really lovely. So thank you.
Del is offering a free PDF copy of her chapter from the book, The Wellness Universe Guide to Complete Self-Care, 25 Tools for Goddesses. She also offers a 20-minute complimentary discovery call. You can sign up on her website, www.deladeyjones.com. If you haven't already, be sure to join our Women's Circle, Awaken Feminine, to reclaim your authentic voice through play. We meet to create connection, elevate and celebrate each other through games and exercises geared to tap into our intuition and give voice to our longings and desires. If you have a gift you want to share with the world, I encourage you to schedule an interview with me so I can help you spread your unique message and perspective. You don't need any superpowers or be well on your way. You just need to have an idea, a vision, or a direction that you think will inspire others. And if no one told you today, I want you to know that you're amazing. Continue to live with passion, purpose, and presence. The world needs to see your light shine brightly as an example to others of what is possible for them also.